Fantastic. Well, hello and good afternoon, and welcome to the happiest half hour of this Riviera slash TTG takeover. I'm George Hanson, the Learning and Development Partner here at Riviera Travel. But in a previous life, I was also a former brewer, distiller, and wine merchant at Adnams. I'm also joined today by the lovely Roxy. Roxy, hello, how are you doing?
Hi, George. Good.
Thank you very much indeed, Roxy. And of course, I'm joined by James from the TTG as well. So thanks once again for allowing us to host this event today, James, and showcasing the best of Riviera travel. And did you want to say a few words, James, at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And, really excited to get stuck in and try these wines, of course. But for everyone who's maybe not had a chance to tune into the platform so far, do feel free to catch up on those sessions after this from yesterday's and today. There's obviously still a great opportunity to win a place on that fam trip, the Riviera fam trip, by going back into some of those previous sessions and answering some of those poll questions for a chance to win. Really looking forward to hearing from you, George and Roxy, and seeing what wines we've got today.
Fabulous. Thank you very much indeed. And sounds like a really exciting fam trip to be a part of. And perhaps some of the wines that we might be tasting today could be a part of one of those fam trip itineraries. So that'd be really interesting. We've received a huge amount of interest for this particular session. I have no idea why that could be. Perhaps it's because wine's included. But hopefully those of you on the call today have received your pack of wines. So there should be 3 small miniature bottles of wine included in there, as well as a Riviera branded wine glass as well. What I would say, just before we really get into it, is for the best experience with wine tasting, particularly virtually, what I would recommend is perhaps refreshing your glass just with some water, if you have water on the side, and give it a little swirl and pour that away. That will then refresh your glass ready for the next wine that we'll be tasting. Of course, if you have any light nibbles as well, highly recommended. We've got a chat function running as well, so feel free to add your thoughts as we go through this chat section. But I think this right here, this moment that we're in, is one of those gin and tonic moments, as I call it, in the travel industry, where we realise that we're actually working, but having a brilliant time tasting wine at the same time. And I think that only really happens in the travel industry. So thanks for that. Good. Okay, let's get into the wine tasting. I think I'm always a firm believer when it comes to wine tasting that, there only is really one expert, and that's you, and that's your own taste buds. You either like something or you don't. Hopefully during this virtual wine tasting today, we'll aim to introduce you to maybe some of the hidden gems of wine across the European waterways, which we're lucky enough to visit with some of Riviera's river cruises. I guess that's enough of an intro. Let's get on to the fun part and get on to our first wine. So let's get cracking. Good. Okay. So those of you that do have a wine selection presented for you, the first wine which we're going to be tasting is actually a classic example of a white Burgundy style from Le Champ de l'Etoise, which essentially translates in French to a field of stars. If anyone speaks French out there, you may have already known that. It's a white wine from this particular region. Now they tend to be oaked in a barrel, and that leaves this trademark, how should I put it, like creamy, buttery texture, which is really textbook for this region. So let's get into it. Let's crack these bottles open and give it a go. Thanks for preparing the Riviera branded wine glasses.
All part of the job.
So for those of you tasting along at home, what I would recommend is pouring a reasonable measure. I'll let you decide what reasonable is. Then just giving that a nice swirl around. And what we're doing there is we're really allowing the air particles to get into the wine, which makes the wine then more flavourable. Give it a nice swirl. At the same point, give it a nice good smell on the nose, and have a think. Now, what are you smelling there? What are you smelling?
Mm.
I think I filled mine a little bit too high. Got a bit early.
That doesn't sound like an issue. Yes, give it a go. And whilst you are smelling the wine, just a little tip is just open your mouth up whilst you're smelling the wine.
Well, that makes a big difference, actually.
A huge difference. So what are you kind of smelling there, Roxy?
I'm getting some citrus notes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Bit citrusy. Oh yeah, Emma also said citrus. Cheers,
Quite
Emma.
Just swirling around my water around here, or get rid of that water, get that wine in that glass quickly, Tracy, is what I would say. Good. So just whilst you guys are enjoying the wine at home or in the office, wherever you might be, this particular wine, so I guess it's full of zip. You might be getting quite a lot of kind of creamy stone fruits out of there as well. Now, this particular wine, it's sourced from one of the richest, most picturesque corners in France, so the southern part of France, around the Provence region, along the River Rhône, and up to the Saône. The wine you're tasting is actually a classic example from the Macron village. And if you was to think about the Riviera river cruise to this area of France, titled Burgundy, River Rhône, and Provence, our guests actually get to sail past the vineyard that this one's from on day 2 of the itinerary. But as we continue to sail up the Saône, our guests will visit Châlons, which is quite famously known as Burgundy's wine capital. If anyone's been to that area before, well worth a visit. Our guests get to enjoy a guided tour, which is included in Châlons, and of course, a wine tasting as well. So our guests will be tasting a wine very similar in the nature of the one that you're tasting right now. What I thought would be quite fun, just whilst you're continuing to finish the sips that you're on, is maybe just to run a little guess the price in the chat section. So for a normal size bottle, what sort of price would you say this particular wine is from? Tropical fruits I'm getting from Heather as well.
Mm.
£10 from Emma. £11, £7.99, £14. Oh, all of a sudden, I sound like an auctioneer. That was unintentional. This particular wine, it's available for from Laithwaite, so online wine merchant, for £12.99. Highly recommended. A fantastic example of quite a traditional, classic white Burgundy.
Mm.
Good. Give you another 30 seconds or so just to finish those wines, and then we'll move on to the second wine, which we'll taste this afternoon.
Just interested, George, how popular is this wine on board with customers?
Extremely popular, James. One of the great things about the crew on board, they actually tend to find the local wines and complement them with the dishes that we'll be tasting on board. As a part of our 40th birthday celebrations, which we're in at the moment, all guests that are travelling in 2024 and 25 enjoy that free superior drinks package. So would enjoy a white Burgundy such as this on board.
Fantastic.
Mm. It's delicious. I must say, I'm not normally a fan of Chardonnay, but it's good.
It's interesting because I hear that a lot. I'm George. I don't like Chardonnay, But if you present someone with a white Burgundy, which has traditionally been oaked in such a way, it completely changes the grape. Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously visiting the region as well gives a new appreciation, and people encourages people to step out of their comfort zone, I guess.
Of course it does. And you think about all of that lovely food from the area as well. Oh, you're getting me excited. Nikki just said in the chat that she completely agrees with you, Roxy, as well.
Yeah.
And not normally a fan. So there we go. We've changed one perception already around Chardonnay. Good. Okay, let's move on to the second wine, if that's okay. Good. Now, the second wine that we're going to be tasting. Now, if you can, what I would suggest is just to swirl a bit of water in your wine glass. Just give that a swirl around and just either drink it or pour it away, just to clean that glass up. Now, the next wine which we're going to be tasting is a German wine. It's a Riesling, and it's Apollo Reuter. It's a 100% Riesling grape in the wine that we're going to be tasting next. Just something interesting about this wine, which is quite topical at the moment in the wine world, is it's actually organic. Now, what that essentially means is there's no preservatives that have been used in the vines or in the soil process. It's also a vegan wine, so that essentially means that no isinglass has been used in the winemaking filtering process. Yeah, enough from me. Let's get tasting now. Good. Once again, encouraging reasonably sized measures, and just as we did before, a gentle pour, a nice swirl of the glass, a good smell. Just that little tip that we learned earlier on, Roxy, opening the mouth whilst we're smelling it, and then of course the taste as well. Now, this time, if you did want to, just maybe just swirl some of the wine around in your mouth, and just maybe get a sense of the different tastes that you're getting there.
A lot sweeter.
A lot sweeter. Okay, interesting.
It's got a good acidity level, I think. It's good.
Yeah.
But tropical.
Tropical. Very good. Very good. Can you taste any, what am I getting there? Almost like root vegetables.
I'm getting something at the end there.
Yeah, just at the end, right now. Now, I guess if you like something like a Gewürztraminer, if anyone's had one of those before, or a Pinot Gras, both very similar grape varieties to the Riesling. Gewürztraminer is grown in the same region as this particular wine. So if you like one of those, you might like this wine as well. Good. So,
George, what food would you pair the Riesling with then?
Oh, it's a really, really interesting question. So, what I would say is actually going back to where this wine is grown in the Rheinhazen region. So, logistically, that's east of Rudelsheim and west of Mainz. So, it's traditionally the types of food that come from that area. What I've eaten with Riesling before is maybe some nice German sausage or something along those lines, because then you get the acidity kind of cutting through that pork as well. Particularly nice.
Next up, we'll have to get that arranged for next year, some German pork.
Yeah.
And just as the same as before, the guests that do enjoy the wine at this particular area, such as the Rhine and Moselle River Cruise with Riviera, will absolutely, without doubt, be tasting this type of wine on board because it's from the region. So guests will actually sail past the Rheinhazen wine region on not just the Rhine and Moselle itinerary. There's a few different itineraries that will sail past. So such as the Rhine Strasbourg Heidelberg, itinerary, Rhine cruise to Switzerland, our Rhine Moselle, and the majestic Rhine cruise, all of which will be sailing straight past this wine region. So we'll be almost foolish not to stop by and taste some of the lovely wines. Let's give it another take.
I agree with Debbie. It's quite a nice summer wine. I can imagine sitting on the top deck of the ship.
Lawrence is a little unsure about the yummy potato peelings and the root vegetables.
Maybe have a good taste, and then maybe just like 90 seconds or so after, the root vegetable part tends to kick in. I can say
there's a sort of a sweetness to begin with, and then, as you say, something lingered there.
It essentially gets quite sweet at the beginning, and then drier and drier and drier as we go through. I guess we love to hear the stories from our guests once they return home about how they kind of meandered around the world's famous Rhine Gorge, followed by a fantastic glass of Riesling from this particular region, just as the one that you're tasting right now. What's Jenny saying? Lawrence thinks chips. There we go. Chips. Let's do another poll maybe in the chat of maybe just type in the chat. Yeah, what sort of price would you say for this particular bottle?
I'm tempted to go a little bit higher just due to the fact that it's vegan and obviously a bit more. But the process obviously is probably a little bit more thorough. Okay. I don't want to sway anyone's vote.
£10.99, £14, £8, £17. Okay. What I'm getting the gist of there is we're enjoying that wine more, and it's actually higher in price. Okay, interesting. Okay. So interestingly, this particular wine is actually a lower cost of the one before. So it's £10.99, which is available from organicswines.com.
Shows you all I know about wine. There you go.
Like I said at the beginning, at the end of the day, we're all an expert. We know what we like, we know what we don't like. But I guess the idea of a session like this is maybe push those boundaries a little bit. Try something that you wouldn't normally try. Particularly, we had a great example of the Chardonnay earlier on, for example. Good. So maybe another minute or so. We'll enjoy the rest of this wine, and then we'll move on to the next wine. Yeah, I think this is my favourite one so far.
Definitely.
What's your favourite bin, Roxy, so far?
You know what? I like the Riesling, but I'm going to have to go off book for me and say the Chardonnay from Burgundy White.
You've been surprised then.
I've been surprised. George has converted me.
Oh no, but there's one more wine left, Roxy.
I know. There's still one to go.
And we're going to have to vote at the end as well. You do realise that, don't you?
Oh, yes, definitely.
I can imagine it with a fruit summer punch. Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it feels like the weather's getting hotter and hotter as we're trying these.
Summer's arrived, for sure.
Absolutely.
Good. One more minute, and then maybe we'll move on to the last wine, if that's okay with you.
What do you tend to see is most popular on board in general, George?
Most popular on board?
Yeah, on the ships particularly. What do you see? What do you see customers kind of going toward more at the beginning, perhaps maybe versus after they've tried things toward the end?
Yeah, I guess if you look at kind of all of our river cruises across the board, and I don't necessarily have any evidence to back this up with data, but what I tend to see from speaking with guests is kind of once they go out and immerse themselves in the destinations that they're visiting, they're trying new things that they would never have tried before. I kind of speak for myself here with, that's one of the reasons why I love travel. It's to, go out there, kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit and maybe try a wine, try an excursion, try maybe a different type of holiday that maybe I haven't had before. And branching out a little bit. That's what I would say.
Excellent. Yeah, I can imagine a lot of customers come on board with preconceived conceptions of their favorite wine. They leave with another favorite wine, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think on the ships as well, we have regional wines during dinner time that they'll always suggest and say, this is local to the region. So on the ship, they also, trying the local regional wines, which is great.
Yeah, nothing quite like tasting a particular wine from the region, and as you sail past, their wines that it's come from. Nothing quite like that. That's for sure.
Absolutely, I can imagine.
Good. Okay, so we move on to our third and final wine,
and maybe a bit controversial coming in a can.
This one, I promised Roxy that I wouldn't say any awkward, unintended puns, but here goes one. This one can be controversial. That's for sure. So once again, just take a moment to swirl the water around your glass just to clear it and cleanse it a little bit. And when I've sampled this particular wine in some sessions before, it does always throw some different opinions. So what I would say is kind of really embrace it, something really different, and hopefully I can try and change some perceptions here. So it's a Gautol. Now it's actually a white Branco. So it's a semi-sparkling white wine essentially. So it's definitely something completely different. It's a modern adaptation of a Vino Verde. Now, perhaps you might have heard of Vino Verdes before, which essentially translates into green wine, which originates from the northwest region of Portugal. So yeah, let's crack this one open and give it a good taste.
Way ahead of you, George. Way ahead of you. He already says he loves it, so that's good.
It's always nice to end on something a bit sparkly. I always think.
Ooh, that's like a party in the mouth.
Ooh,
have a go at this. Okay,
wow. We're all invited.
Yeah, something quite different. That's for sure. The Vino Verde, and particularly from this particular region in Portugal, it's quite renowned for quite light wines, quite crisp in nature. I just wish I had maybe one of these on Sunday when I was absolutely roasting. That would have been pleasant. So just whilst you're enjoying this particular wine, just a few points to make about the wine. During our gorgeous Douro, Porto and Salamanca river cruise, which is 7 nights, 8 days, our guests will cut through this particular region as we're verandering our way to the Spanish border to visit Salamanca on a day trip. One of the key highlights for this particular tour. We actually stop off at a spectacular spot, the photo which you can hopefully see on your screen at the moment. It's a really, really pretty little town called Pesto de Regua. And we actually enjoy and we include the historical visit to the Cuenta, where we'll learn all about the winemaking process and the production for a wine quite similar to this one that we're tasting. We'll learn about the planting of the vines, the harvesting, the winemaking process, but absolutely a wine tasting would be included as we're verandering our way through the Douro as well. Yes, just continue to enjoy this particular wine.
It is definitely proving slightly divisive in the comments section from
I
our
was
agents.
just reading that, James.
Yeah.
I thought I have to go back for another smell.
I think my favourite, very 1970s. I won't say the last bit. Yeah, the smell's off-putting, but it tastes lovely.
It does smell very different to how it tastes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a nice kind of fizzy, sweet sort of taste. And as I can see where you're coming from, Georgia. On a nice hot day, cracking one of those, a nice fizz as it hits the glass.
Yeah. Whilst you're maybe perhaps cruising in the evening, the sun's setting. You've got that lovely orange colour on some of the vines. You're up on the sun deck, and perhaps enjoying something quite like this would be lovely.
Excellent. So I'm getting here. Don't focus on the smell, but appreciate the taste.
What's Lawrence saying? Black Forest Gatto to be washed down. Ooh. There you go. I'm hoping that's maybe after the wine as a bit of a treat. Yeah.
And what sort of food? Again, another question, George, about pairing food. What would you go with?
Yeah. So I think with something like this, personally, I think it's best to be enjoyed perhaps before a meal. So you've been out on some excursions in the day. You've vacated back to your cabin. You've got your lovely French balcony with the floor-to-ceiling windows. You're in your cabin, and just in the fridge is something light, crisp that you can just pop open and enjoy the breeze as it goes by. So I'm not sure I would actually have any food with it. Perhaps some light nibbles, crisps, nice bit of cheese, something along those natures. But I don't think I'd be having a heavy meal with something like this.
Great, something to start off then. That's
for sure. Good. Okay. Well, sadly, it looks like we're coming to the end of this particular wine tasting. But just before we do kind of finish off with some final notes, Roxy, I believe you wanted to just mention a few things about some of the itineraries this summer.
Well, yeah, I just thought, we've got some amazing river cruises to offer, and we've got some great summer sailings through July and August, and they're starting at really, really good prices, and there really is just so much included in our river cruises. So I think the summer ones are starting from about 1,899 on the Rhine cruise to Switzerland, which is a really, really good price for for a summer river cruise with so much included. And then we've also got obviously some August river cruises as well, and some autumn river cruises. And I think that wine is a great time to enjoy on any river cruise. Obviously contact us if you want any more information on any of the other river cruises, or if you've got any other questions about drinks on board or anything like that. Just give us a shout, and we're always here to help.
I had a quick question actually, Roxy or George, whoever wants to chime in terms of your themed itineraries, and how much does the wine tie in there, and how much of a focal point is that for agents to recommend to their customers?
Yeah, so really, I can take that one, absolutely. Yeah, the themed cruises is something that we've just launched essentially at the beginning of this year. So for 25, we're always keen to listen to our customers here at Riviera Travel, hear what they really like about river cruising with Riviera Travel. And what they've told us is, we absolutely love the itineraries, but we're going through these really quite famous wine regions or other themed regions around Europe. And it would be great if we could maybe stop off at some more vineyards for more tastings, maybe visit some more chateaus to really learn about the winemaking process. So we listened to that feedback essentially, James, and that's why we put on, I think it's 8 themed departures for 25. Some are around kind of food and drink elements. Other themed cruises are around kind of the historian elements. So it really allows our guests to really get really get to know the destinations that they're visiting with those local expert guides just that little bit better.
Fantastic. Well, it's certainly in terms of using Riviera, the agent's experience, there's some fantastic glowing reviews in the chat section about price and value being unbeaten. Kelly mentions, and Jenny mentioning her first river cruise ever booked was 6 people with Riviera about 15 years ago.
Wow,
so
that's fantastic. That must have been that must have been one of our first cruises back in 2009, something like that. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Oh, and Tracy asked quite a good question. Is wine served by the glass, or can clients have a bottle in their cabin?
Okay, so with the free superior drinks package, essentially it's unlimited wines. I think one thing that Riviera do fantastically well on our river cruises is the service that the crew on board provide. And when I say that the wine's free flowing, I genuinely mean they're constantly walking around. That high quality service, ensuring that glasses are never empty. That's certainly from my experience. Would you kind of agree with that, Roxy?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure they probably could take a bottle back to their cabin and enjoy it. With their French balcony looking out onto the river as they're cruising by.
For sure.
Excellent. Yeah, fantastic. And obviously there's a few people here saying as well they'd love to try a river cruise. We'll be sure, as I say, in those earlier sessions to fill in those poll answers, and hopefully you could be one of those lucky agents to do so on the upcoming fam trip.
Yes, because we're giving away the Burgundy, River Rhone and Provence river cruise, which we've tasted from that region today. So
absolutely. So I hope you liked that one.
Exactly.
No, it's a fantastic region, and all of the guests that I've spoke with since over the years that I've worked for Riviera, it's always a real standout itinerary along the River Rhone, south of France. A bit quieter than the Danube or the Rhine. It seems to be a bit of a slower pace, much more leisurely. So a highly recommended cruise for sure, particularly if you're a wine lover like me.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Sorry, Roxy.
I was going to say, did you want to do a very quick poll, George, to see who's was everyone's favourite?
Go on then. Okay. So, should we put a 1, 2, and 3, perhaps?
Yeah.
Okay. So was it number 1, which was the white Burgundy? Is your favourite number 2, which is the Rheinhausen Riesling? Or finally, was it number 3, the semi-sparkling white wine from from along the Douro region? So 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, 2. Lots of 2s. 2. James, what would you say was your favourite?
Mine was 2, actually. I really enjoyed it. I do quite like a sweet wine, and I would really enjoyed getting that taste, as you say, after about 90 seconds or so, and being able to appreciate the transformation in the taste. I must admit, hands up, everyone. I'm a bit of a fraud here. I'm not a big wine drinker, but this whole experience has been fantastic, and it certainly opens your eyes to seeing the different flavours and notes there. So I really enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, I guess we're coming to the end of this session. I guess final remarks from me, and then maybe I'll pass over to you, James. Thank you very much indeed for joining today. Fantastic fam trip available for someone to head along along the River Rhone, and who knows, possibly I'll see you on the sun deck enjoying a nice glass of Burgundy together. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Wouldn't that be nice? Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, George and Roxy, for joining, and certainly educating myself I talk about myself there, really learning a lot, and hopefully everyone else has enjoyed. And even for those who didn't have the wine, hope you enjoyed, learning a little bit more about what makes Riviera travel so unique and experiential when it comes to wine. Just a reminder as well, and just to sort of cap off everyone, thanks so much for joining. I did see a question about an opportunity to still catch up. Someone even mentioned they were busy today. If you go back into, once this is finished, you can go back into the lobby or just log on at any time on demand, and all the sessions that have been covered already are available on demand. So do check those out. And as I say, those poll tab, the tab with next to the chat and Q&A is open, and you can still answer those questions for a chance to win a place, one of 8 places on the fam trip, which is exciting. And just to say that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining so far. And tomorrow, join us at 10 a.m., which is a touring themed day. So so much more to get under the skin of Riviera here at TTG Riviera Fest. But yes, signing off really. Thank you so much for joining, everyone.
Thanks everyone.
Bye bye.
Thanks everyone for joining. Bye bye.